name is Rasadhi. I'm one of the engineers at Siemens that I work with the embedded analytics team. So I'm going to talk to you about hardware-based cybersecurity for connected vehicles. So before we start off, let's talk about the technology. So embedded analytics is a set of 20 IPs that we have, which is hardware functional monitoring based IPs. And its application is far and wide, not just security and safety. As you can see, we are in multiple markets. We're in AI, we're in data centers, we're in the automotive industry, we're in 5G, and in storage as well. The reason why we are in so many different markets is because they all have very common characteristics. They've got complex designs. They all designs look for hardware and software optimization. They have debug functionalities that they need, and some of them have RISC-V adaptation. So the semiconductor IPs that we provide can help the designers to use them in their design to understand how the system is performing and optimize their designs in real-time operation. But for this presentation, we're going to focus on security. So if we take a look at some of the regulations that we have out there, we've got the ISO 21434, which is the cybersecurity one, and then we've got ISO 26262, which is the functional safety one, and then we've got the UN ECE, which is for software updates. And if we look at the different threat categories, so if we're focusing on the automotive industry, as you can see, we've got three different threat categories, and the first one is on the control systems. And sorry, it's on the threat on the control systems. And this is the attack actually has to be close to the vehicle. It's on a vehicle by vehicle basis, so doesn't have that much of an impact. Then, if you look at the sensors, it is more serious. And it attacks it focuses on the different types of sensors you have in a vehicle, and it can actually have a great impact. But the third one, which is the V2X communication attacks, now this is the most catastrophic one of it because it's a remote type attack. It can actually affect not just one vehicle, it can affect a fleet of vehicles, and also it has the biggest impact. And it's the most common type of attack. There was a survey done in 2022 by AutoSpy, and they found that 49% of the attacks that's done on an automotive vehicle is a V2X communication type of attack. So if you have a look at the IP that is in place, so the light green ones, the knock monitor, the bus monitor, the status monitor ones, these are passive components. They just monitor the AXI bus to understand the filtering, the trace that goes through, and what it does is it will capture these traces and it will send it through the message engine to an analytics engine that has the algorithms to understand whether it's an attack or not. And based on it, it will decide whether to block the attack or whether it's not an attack. But another advantage is that we can use something like a JTAG communicator and send the data off trip. And that can be used to analyze this data offline as well. And the Sentry IPs they are actually reactive components. So they are able to monitor and as well as block any kinds of malicious attacks that's there. And this kind of monitoring also has an impact on silicon life management and fleet monitoring, which I will show later. But if we take a look at two example attacks that we have. So the first one is a mobile network attack. In this scenario, it's a man-in-the-middle attack, and they're using a malicious firmware. The attacker is trying to take access of the infotainment system. Our IP is highly parameterized. It can be configured for different scenarios. So in this case, we will configure the bus monitor to read any out-of-bound data, and this captures will then be sent to the analytical engine, which will identify it as an attack and what we'll do is it will block these frames from actually going into the CAN bus. So it's done on the AXI bus. It is an unintrusive SoC. It doesn't actually sit within the rest of the car system or actually have an impact on the functionality of the car. And then it will also send a flag to the user to say that this type of attack has been seen. So it's not as if it stops it silently. You get an awareness of it. So the second type of attack, if we look at, which is insecure telemetrics. So in this case, the telemetrics unit is already compromised, and it's trying to send some harmful instructions to the car, for example, to open the car door. Now, our analytics engine, we are able to measure the speed of the car with the algorithms we have. So we do know that the car is in motion and at what speed it's going. So we are aware of the fact that if a car is in motion, something like opening the car door is a harmful act and it shouldn't actually be executed. So in this case, what we do is we can configure something like the bus sentry to actually recognize these kinds of harmful frames and then to block them from being written into the controls. So those are two different examples. Now, to showcase that these actually do work, we have something called the Secure Cab project that we did along with Copper Horse and the Coventry University. And this is the prototype that we developed. So the car simulator it's basically a simulation of the car to actually generate some CAN frames. And then we've got the physical CAN bus, just like in a car, to be connected. And then we've got the vehicle instrument cluster that has the dashboards and everything, just like you would have in a car. And then we've got the modeled ECU with our embedded analytics IP. And then the last is the hacker control, so we could actually showcase these attacks. So this is the architecture that you will see in here. It's connected to the cloud as well, but the actual detection and prevention does happen in the chip. So it is hardware-based and not a software solution. So the solutions do happen, the reaction time is microseconds as opposed to milliseconds. So the other benefit is because the data is, of course, stored elsewhere, in the cloud. You can analyze the data and any kind of updates to the configuration you need to do, you are able to do that to the system. So it is an ongoing process. It's not something that you configure once and that's how it is. You can actually modify it. So if you look at the threat levels based on ISO 21434, so you've got the risk before any kind of threat mitigation, threat detection or mitigation. It's obviously above the acceptable risk level. But then once you implement the threat mitigation, it comes below the accepted risk until a new threat comes and the cycle continues. So if we look at fleet manufacture, how the data that you collect can be used for Silicon Life management or fleet health. This is one of the examples. So it's once you have deployed the fleet, it's how do you find out the health of it, the operational performance of it. With the data that you've gathered, you can analyze it offline. And I will show you one such case is this, where it's a collection of 200 data, and you can see there's one obvious anomaly as opposed to the other 199, which is, so it's very easy to understand with one vehicle, easy to identify a type of an attack. So this could be the car is under attack, it could be a device has malfunctioned, but it's easy to identify, and that's kind of the key thing when it comes to fleet management. Now, And then in another scenario, this once again, it's 200 vehicles. They've had a software update, and you kind of want, if you want to see how the health of the software update has gone, or see, you can see that basically towards the towards the end, you see there's a drop in the data optimization. So it shows that the software has helped to actually optimize the performance. And that helps you to kind of know the health of your fleet. So this is basically kind of like this whole cycle. You've got the hardware, and you collect the data with the embedded solutions, and then you analyze the data, and then you feed back any kind of updates that you need for it. And this is where the OEMs, the suppliers really come in, because they're the ones who will know what needs to be, what are the key requirements, or what needs to be analyzed. And yes, so this is some of the patterns that we hold for the IP. And some of the papers that has been published by the team as well. Alongside this, so I'll tell a little bit about the two missing slides. So we have a new security partnership where, while this is the IP, we have a secure gating system, a secure manager that will provide the authentication, which gives you the access to the data that is collected, which is important to kind of make it like the whole package. So that's it. Thank you very much.